welcome to Morning Trade with Money Control. I'm Karunya Rao and I'm here to help you navigate the trading day with actionable strategies, sectoral trends and most importantly your queries during the course of the show. So please keep commenting on our live feed and we'll have your questions addressed by our technical analyst. But before we begin, let's see what the global handover looks like. European markets pulled back slightly, tracking risk-off sentiment globally as investors assess whether last month's rally has further legs to run. Stoxx 600 closed 0.2% lower, with most sectors and major bourses sliding into the negative territory. Wall Street indices finished lower as investors assess U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's controversial Taiwan visit and hawkish comments by Fed Reserve presidents. Asian markets trade higher as the street monitors intensifying US-China tension. SGX Nifty signals a positive start to the Indian market. Stock spotlight today: Adani Green, Aurobindo Pharma, Jubilant Pharmnova and Subex. Ahead of the meeting between OPEC and its allies, we get you the latest on oil prices and the likely agenda of this all-important meet. Okay, let's get going and talk technicals of the market. Hemen Kapadia joins us this morning. Hi Hemen, and thanks for taking time out. Talk to us about the trade setup. The handover is not very encouraging, but we're still looking at a decent or perhaps a muted start for the market.
A very good morning to you, Karunya. Thank you for having me. Like you said, Dow is down 400, we're up 50, which is a pleasant surprise. We're close to resistance levels. The markets have gone up one way. Frankly speaking, nothing to worry yet. Some of the FMCG and maybe cap goods stocks look a bit overbought, but no reversals yet. There are 4 bullish caps, Karunya. Normally, beyond 3 seem a bit difficult to sustain, but we are sitting on top of a 2200 point rise. So, yes, I think I'm not saying we need a correction, but a small correction would make the market just that much more healthy and would set the stage for a further upside. But as of now, if 17.2 holds from a 1 or 2 day point of view, I think things are fine. And if we don't, we just slip into what I believe is a slightly needed correction as far as the Nifty is concerned. The VIX has moved up from sub 17 to 18.5. Maybe this is also because of like you mentioned, the US-China tension. So a rising VIX is obviously not good. 18.5 is fine. The minute we cross 20, I think it will start impacting the market.
Okay, all right. Let's talk about some individual stocks that are likely to be in focus today on back of earnings as well as news developments. First, I want to flag off an Adani Green earnings candidate. Q1 profit came in at flattish. Actually, there was a marginal dip of 2% year on year because of lower other income. There was some forex loss as well, which marred the overall bottom line. Revenue grew 58%, coming in at 1,700 crore rupees for the quarter gone by. Now, Adani Green past few days pretty good. I think in the last 1 week, it's seen a 150 rupees up move. And we keep getting a lot of queries as well from our viewers on Adani Green. So tell us, where do you think it's headed? How are the technicals placed?
Okay, there was a big range in the sense on 13 July, there was a high of 2384 Karunya. After that, we went to a low of 1931 the next day, 14 July. So this 2-day trading range was pretty large. And since those 2 days, we have remained within the range. Albeit the bias, which was slightly negative, is now positive. We are quoting about the 55-day exponential moving average. Some of the mechanical indicators like the MACD, RSI, stochastic, they are also in buying mode, and a higher top, higher bottom situation is in play on the daily chart. So everything seems fine, but we're still not out of this range. So we need to first take out the 2384 level. That happens, we gravitate towards 2500. So as of now, things are okay. But for safety's sake, one would need to keep an eye on just around 2200 first and 2155. I think these levels need to remain sacrosanct. If this anticipated upside needs to unfold, it looks to be doing that. Yeah.
Okay, all right. The next name on our watch list today is Aurobindo Pharma. There's some regulatory updates there. Its API non-antibiotic manufacturing facility in Telangana has got a Form 483 from the US FDA. I'm sorry, it's not in Telangana, it's in Andhra Pradesh. So this particular manufacturing facility has got 3 observations as far as the Form 483 is concerned. And none of these observations are related to data integrity. That's all we are aware of right now. This particular inspection was carried out pretty recently between 25th of July to 2nd of August. Looks like yesterday it was concluded and they have been issued those 3 observations for this facility. Talk to us about Aurobindo Pharma's technicals. Yesterday, of course, the stock saw some positive action. But overall, what the trend tells you, because largely the pharma sector has not been very encouraging or very buoyant compared to many of the other sectoral indices.
Absolutely, you hit the nail on the head, Karunya. Pharma hasn't been performing. I think the probably exception would be Sun Pharma, whether it's Lupin or whether it's Aurobindo or whole plethora of pharma stocks haven't done anything notable. But coming back to Aurobindo Pharma, uh, we've consolidated. I believe it has formed a base. This base is around 11 to 12 weeks old. The range is between 503 on the downside and 580 on the upside. It's also formed a rounding bottom, which is basically a bullish formation currently. So things are looking better. Base has been formed. Now we need, but there's a weekly level. So we need a weekly closing above 580. Now I'm not sure how the observations are going to impact the stock. But if we sustain above 580, okay, today is Wednesday, we need a Friday closing, so the weekly charts form. So it closes above 580 on the weekly chart. I'd say 1, we're out of the woods, 2, a base has been made, and 3, we are looking at a upside after a long time. So things are looking promising. Whether these observations are going to puncture this possibly positive picture, we'll have to wait and see. 580 remains crucial.
Okay, all right. The next name as well, which I want you to address, is from the pharma space. This is Jubilant Pharmnova. Again, regulatory developments. The US FDA has actually given 6 observations for its solid dosage manufacturing facility at Roorkee. So this one also could come in under some scrutiny or some pressure from the traders and investors community. But talk to us about the overall trend as far as the chart is concerned. It's seen a decent uptick, not a very solid one, but a decent recovery from those 320 lows, and right now it's firmly above 360 rupees. But what does the chart tell you? Where is it headed?
Currently, we've virtually fallen off a cliff from a high of 1,000 to a low of 281.80, and we've been off almost for 1.5 years, lower tops and lower bottoms. And yes, I think we've seen just a semblance of a recovery, like you mentioned. And yeah, things are looking just a bit better. We spent 4 weeks moving sideways. Firstly, levels to watch out 320 to 80. I think they need to hold. Deeply oversold, not oversold, deeply oversold. So one gets a feeling that currently the worst is almost past us, but this is a weekly. The monthly picture is not yet reflecting anything. If we cross 400, I think our weekly higher top, higher bottom would have formed, and would also indicate that in the near to medium term, the stock has formed a bottom of sorts, and we are gradually looking and gravitating towards an upside. As of now, I'd like to term this as a potential recovery, not a rally. But after 4.5 weeks, one gets the feeling that as long as the levels that I mentioned hold, Karunya, one would be more positive than negative on the stock.
Okay, well, that's the word coming in on Jubilant Pharmnova. The last name, as far as stocks and news on our list is concerned, we want to address a Subx, a name from the small cap index, which is seldom discussed actually on the show. Geo Platforms has announced a partnership with this company for its AI orchestration platform known as Hypersense. They will be basically Geo Platforms will be offering its cloud native 5G core to telcos globally along with Subex's Hypersense. So this is a partnership that has been announced, could augur well for the stock price as well. Yesterday it shut shop with close to 3% gains. Talk to us about the technicals here. What are they telling you?
Firstly, a disclosure, Karunya. I have a personal holding in Subx. A higher top, higher bottom seems to be forming. The weekly charts seem to be indicating a move towards an intermediate bounce. We're at 27.75. A close up of 30 should trigger off a medium term upside. Once again, we've come off from 74 to 18.5, and now we are clawing back at a recovery. Deeply oversold, near-term upside seems to be on the cards. I believe that above 30, this should probably convert into an intermediate uptrend also. So, looks promising from the short to medium term. The long-term picture still seems wobbly, so it's far cry to be very confident from a longer-term point of view. But yes, near to medium term seems like it's going to improve from here.
All right, okay. Hemen, I request you to stay on with us. We'll call out some queries that you could address. But right now, I want to touch base with my colleague Manisha Gupta. She tracks the commodity space very, very closely. And all eyes today will be on oil prices ahead of that all-important OPEC meet. In fact, right now, as we speak, Brent is trading just at that $100 level, and crude is at 94.2. Manisha, hi and welcome on board. First up, I want you to tell us what is exactly happening with respect to the crude oil prices, the overall trend. What should we be watching out for?
Well, it's not such a great market for the crude bulls, by the way, but for a consuming country like India, the crude price decline clearly is a welcome step. We have seen 2 months of decline, and 7% of a cut is what we saw for the month of July, and August hasn't started on a very positive note. The reason being that the supply side situations really seem to be easing. Libya's output has stabilized around 1.2 million barrels per day. You are looking at US continuing to release crude from the strategic petroleum reserve. That would end only in the month of October, and then you are looking at inventories rising as well. The high prices clearly have led to some demand destruction for sure, where we have seen those numbers come in from US. The prices also have declined because the manufacturing data from US, Europe and Asia all have come in on the weaker side. Very weak numbers is what we saw from South Korea, Japan as well, where the factory activity has been seen the lowest growth in last 10 years. So yes, those numbers are not very encouraging, and add to that the fact that the Chinese COVID policies also have led to that pause and start impact on the demand for many of these commodities and crude prices as well, and is the reason we have seen much of the premium coming off from the prices, is the reason it's still trading below $100 for the US crude prices as well.
And what about the OPEC meet? What could be on the agenda this time around?
Oh, well, yes, the OPEC and allies meeting is going to be of much interest today, and that is the reason we are looking at a jittery crude oil prices also. There are 3 important things to watch out for from this one. One, it is going to be chaired by Haitham Al Ghais, who is going to be chairing it or taking it over after Mohammad Barkindo. The second thing is that all the agreement that it started in April 2020, that is when OPEC and allies came into picture. It is 13 core members of OPEC countries, and it is 10 non-OPEC countries led by Russia. So this has been on since April 2020, and they together have taken off a record 9.7 million barrels per day from the market, and that has been restored slowly every month, and it will be totally restored by the month of September. So post-September, is there going to be an agreement? Are these countries going to stay together? Is Russia still going to be part of it? All of it is something that perhaps could be talked about, hinted in this meeting today itself. So that's going to be a very important Q2. The third thing important is that even as various countries have been putting pressure on OPEC and allies to increase production, and while they have reached their maximum capacity, how much is the reaction going to be? Looking at where the crude price is, what statement, what tone does it carry is going to be important. You know, in many of the previous meetings, the meetings were sat upon and finished in a matter of less than 10 minutes. It's important to see how we land up on this meeting. It is an online meeting. The members are not meeting in person. So how long does it go? What is being talked? What are the statements coming in from various member countries is what will drive the crude oil prices, in addition to what kind of quota do we see set for the month of September itself.
All right, Manisha, thanks much for joining us with that update and a heads up ahead of OPEC meet on what to expect. Okay, let's take it across once again to Hemen Kapadia. A lot of queries coming our way, so let's address them one by one, shall we? Exide Industries, first name that we want you to address, Mitesh Rane has written to us and wants your advice for the long haul. A good decent uptake it has seen in the last 1.5 months from those 130 rupees lows. about a 20% upside seen largely in tandem with the overall mood of the market. But do you think it can sustain this momentum?
Excuse me. Yes, Karunya, I think Excite seems to be relatively stable. It's not a spectacular mover, but yes, I think it seems stable. And like you mentioned, we've had a decent upside. I believe that despite the move, I would ideally be more happy if we walked into a small correction. But yeah, long haul makes sense. 162 is a near-term resistance, while the weekly resistance comes in at 168. So the stock, I believe, is on the cusp of improving not only on the weekly but on the monthly charts. So things are looking better. Above 168, I'd be slightly more confident. We are coming off a 1.5 year decline. So the technical setup has distinctly improved. Close above these levels will sort of give us a confidence that the anticipated upside that we are looking at is getting more concrete, so to speak.
Okay, all right. We have another query. This one is on Zomato, and this is from Abhilash. He wants to understand how the technicals are placed, especially on that news update, Zomato on Uber selling reaction. What could it be? And this was a CNBC Avaz exclusive story, I think, which broke late last evening. According to that, a big block deal is expected in Zomato, with Uber likely to sell off its 7.8% stake in this food delivery company. Now, yesterday, we've seen a phenomenal up move coming by on Zomato after a very, very long period of selling, of a lull of sorts. So, talk to us about how this news development could impact the stock reaction today, and even thereafter, what is the kind of move do you foresee?
Firstly, a small caveat, Karunya. Limited data is a relatively new listing. So I'm not sure if a long-term view would help. More of a slightly short to possibly a medium-term view. Somewhere volumes have started being generated, Karunya. Last week when it made a bottom somewhere near 41, we saw huge volume. Last week's traded volume on NSE, this is gross, not net delivery marking, is 150 CR. Now, there's a highest volume in listed history in 1 week from Zomato, despite the sort of new listing. And yesterday's volume is around 53 crores. That is huge. So the block deal which is coming in today, somehow some background activity has already played out, Karunya. Yes, we saw 20% up move on huge volume, and like you said, after a long time. So on pure technicals, as of now, 150 needs to hold. Deeply oversold, a bounce is underway. We need to take out 64 for a further upside to happen. But with so much of volume happening, I believe that stronger hands would have bought, at least looking at the charts. So these levels hold. I think a delayed recovery cannot be ruled out, Karunya.
Okay. The next question is from Vignesh. He wants your view on BPCL for the next quarter, and if you could also give a tentative target price for the next quarter. And he wants to know if he can average it at the current levels. I think 335 is where it shut shop yesterday. Yeah, that's exactly where it shut shop. Last 3 months, extremely sluggish, extremely range-bound, flattish returns, I would say 2.5 months for sure. So talk to us about what the technicals are telling you and if it's a good time to average.
Standalone doesn't look bad. Like you said, we've seen a recovery coming in. 295 to 340, a higher top, higher bottom. Okay, firstly, his question of view for the quarter for the next 3 months, I believe and possible upside to 360 is what I see. Can it overcome 360 in the next 3 months? Maybe, maybe not. I'm not that convinced, but yeah, from 335 to 360 is a journey which I see seems extremely possible. Secondly, 330 is important support, followed by 310. Both of these levels need to hold. So coming back to his question, if he wants to average, I think he can keep the levels as your stop losses with a target of 360, 370. Anything more than that, one would need to review the situation later.
Okay, all right. What about Zensar Technologies? Arun Srinivas wants to know that he bought this particular stock at 356 rupees levels. So if you have any suggestions on what to do at the current price point.
Lower tops, lower bottoms has been for the last 1.5 years or so. The situation doesn't seem to have improved, but the positives are it's deeply, deeply oversold. Now, because it's oversold, it does not mean that we're going to see a recovery coming in. We need to see a higher top, higher bottom for this oversold situation to play out in forms of a positive price action. So, yes, despite being deeply oversold, does it mean that we're going to see a reversal? Maybe price action will be the sort of indicator for that. We're at 249.95. I believe the first indication of a reversal comes in at around 267. That was a recent swing high. So above this, the next level is 285. So at the risk of sticking my neck out, firstly, we are at 249. I think sub 240 is strong support. There's a congestion area. That level looks like holding. And that holds, and these two levels that I mentioned, they get overcome. It will finally stage a recovery of sorts, but it's going to be a painful thing because every rise at every reversal point, there is going to be selling pressure. So currently, I'm waiting for it to turn around. It's not yet turned around. If it overcomes these levels, I think I would be more positive than negative.
Okay. The next stock we want to pull up is the Bank of Baroda. Praveen wants to know how it looks on the technicals, and a good 30%, more than 30% uptick seen from June lows. This stock is firmly trading above 120 levels. Yesterday also it saw a very strong session, 5% higher, before it settled for the day. Talk to us about how it's placed on the chart.
Normally, the pecking order for a PSU bank, Baroda, on charts would be State Bank, Can Bank, and BOB in that order. At least that's what it has been for the last couple of years. Currently, BOB has been doing well. We are breaking out from this range between 90 and 120. Firstly, it looks good. The indicators are supporting the move. We are looking at an upside. Upside possibly to 144 in the next few months, assuming the markets hold. If the markets walk into a correction, I don't expect it to outperform. But as of now, the market setup is better. And Bank of Baroda seems set to move towards 144. So looks good. Support comes in at 120, 111, and 100. So I'm positive on Bank of Baroda. Further upside seems distinctly positive.
All right, Hemen. In the last leg of our show, I want you to tell us what are the stocks that you are closely monitoring and you'd like to perhaps recommend to our viewers as well.
Okay. I have a feeling at least in the next 5-7 trading sessions, two things. Some of the capital goods stocks are slightly overbought, and so are some of the FMCG stocks like Britannia and maybe even Adabar. But I have a sell call on Cummins. We've seen decline coming in. If it closes at this level, it would mean a downward key reversal on the weekly chart. But yes, coming back to specifics, one can sell Cummins at 1210, stop loss of 1235, a target of 1160. Negative divergence stock seems to have been peaking, at least for the time being. Secondly, a buy call on Wipro. I have been positive on IT stocks and especially mid-cap IT for some time now, and that situation hasn't changed. Wipro has moved up a bit, so it's a conditional buy at 4 rupees lower. So one can buy Wipro at 425, stop loss 415, target 445. Deeply oversold. Picture has improved on the weekly chart. Indicators are turning positive after almost 8 months. Infosys, many of the mid caps have moved. Wipro, I believe, would play catch up. Technical setup has improved.
Okay, so a sell on Cummins and a buy on Wipro. Thank you so much, Hemen, for taking time out and chatting with us today and interacting with our audiences via your recommendations and your advice to their stock queries. With that, it's a wrap on Morning Trade. Thank you for tuning in. Stay with Money Control. Markets with Santo and CJ comes up next.